Welcome back. It's your buddy Jonathan for the week 4 update. Can you believe it's already been a month? I can't. Went pretty well this week. I will say this is one of the tougher weeks. This has been the toughest week. I'm sorry. Let me apologize. Let me be more precise in my speech. This was by far the toughest week of the 4 weeks thus far. We stepped on the scale this morning. The results were still favorable. We will not complain. We will take it. And the grand total was 282.7. So a grand total of 3.5 pounds or 3.5 for the week. That's the loss, which brings the total to 282.7. So for the 4 week total thus far, 25 pounds, I guess you could say for the first month. Not a failure by any means. I mean, we'll take it. I'm very happy with that. But this week was definitely a trying week. When it comes to eating this week, I couldn't even tell you. That's how bad it was. I mean, for the most part, I ate things that I was supposed to eat. I had some things outside of what I would normally eat. I had some curry chicken. I think I had a spicy chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A, and I had a chicken bowl from Chipotle. Those are like the outliers. I still stayed drinking water. I still was eating egg whites and such like that. I was still eating ground turkey that I made, chicken breasts I had made. But I really struggled this week to keep track of anything. That's how tired I was, which is something I'll get to here in a minute. When it comes to walking, this was the best week I've had in the 4 weeks I've been doing this. The grand total was 65.86 miles walked this week. So I think that's almost 15 miles more than last week. And yet I think this was the worst week I had weight loss wise. I think before that was like 3.8 pounds. So 3.5, this is the worst week in terms of actual weight loss, but it wasn't for lack of walking. The thing that really affected me this week was the third part, the sleeping. I would say that on any given night until Friday and Saturday night, I was getting 2.5 hours of sleep to 3 hours of sleep a night. So I was tired. I was groggy. I was in a daze most of the week. I wasn't really keeping track of anything. I kind of, I started noticing it when I started looking around and I'm like, oh, I still haven't meal prepped. My kitchen's a mess. I could tell that this week wasn't really going my way. When it came to going outside and walking, obviously I got it, but my feet were bothering me this week a lot. I actually took Wednesday off. So actually I hit 65 miles with only 6 days of active walking, which means I was putting in work, but it took some adjustments. And those adjustments were, we start with, had to go get some new shoes, some new Merrell's Agility Peaks. Those came in clutch. My feet were bothering me so bad. Blisters are still an issue. And then my buddy Preston recommended getting toe socks, which actually each part of your foot has like a little slot for your toe to go in. So it keeps them from rubbing. So I went on Amazon and we bought us some of these creeper socks. You can see the little toes. The little piggies go in there, as they say. And once I put those on, the difference was immediate. New socks, new shoes. I felt amazing out there. Now here we are Sunday. My feet feel really good. A lot of the stuff is healed up. I didn't have the same issues plaguing me as I did before. So those came in clutch. I can't complain about that. I'm very happy that we made the decision to go get those because it was getting painful. It was getting very painful and it was unpleasant. It would take 1 to 2 miles to even warm up to the point where I could tolerate what was going on. And I don't want to walk like that. It makes it demoralizing. It makes it so you don't even want to do it. But, in some ways, I'm like Captain America. Once I put the headphones on, I could do this all day. So it made it a lot easier to do it all day and rather than just quit, which, trust me, I thought about numerous times cutting some of these walks short because it was so painful. But so 3.5 pounds, we'll take it. The sleep going forward is going to have to be something I get under control. 2.5, 3 hours a night of sleep a week is not going to get it done. It was actually made me do something that I don't normally do. I normally only weigh in Sunday morning to see the results. But mostly halfway through the week, I felt like it wasn't going well. And so I jumped on the scales Sunday, or no, I'm sorry, Thursday morning. And I saw that I hadn't made any progress and I was a little demoralized. This week was actually the first week in general that I had some doubts. I'd wake up in the morning, after my 2.5 hours of sleep. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And I would sit on my bed or, I'd sit at my desk working and I would think to myself, like, what's the point of all this? Like, you're not going to do this. Like, this is a lot of work. This requires discipline. This is something you haven't had to display in a long time. You're not going to do this long term. And it's a terrible feeling to feel like that. It's terrible to feel like what's been going well, the first time you run into a little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, adversity, you're ready to just throw in the towel because it got a little too hard for a period of time. But luckily, new shoes, new socks, results still came, and we're ready to go in the week 5. So I am excited about the outcome in general this week. I imagine this week, if I can get my sleep under control and back to dialing in how I'm eating with this same level of activity, there's no reason we can't see another 4.8 or even more than 5. But that will be the goal this week. We'll see. We'll take any progress we make, but that's my personal goal as I'm looking at it. Like, there were things that went well this week. There was just there was more things that I didn't really prefer. And I think they worked against me. Sleep and not really dialing in my eating being the biggest culprits. Now for the week, we're back at it. Album of the week. What is it? Of course you don't know. It's actually one of my favorite albums. I like all music, but I'm a huge hip hop fan. 80s, 90s, some stuff into the 2000s. But Mobb Deep, Prodigy, one of my favorite artists of all time. The album is Albert Einstein, P equals MC square. Very cool title if you understand what he's saying outside of the, Albert Einstein theory of relativity. It was a real clever play on it. I listened to this all the time when I was in Korea. I was stationed in Korea from 13 to 14, July 13 to July 14. And when I went to Korea, my daughter had just been born in December, so she was about 6 months old when I left. And I had put on some weight. So I was still in the Army. I was leaving the unit. I was going to a new unit in Korea. And I would say I was probably 35 pounds, 40 pounds bigger than I normally walked around at. So when I got to Korea, I just really had to get to work. And that album was one of the albums I listened to the most. I really enjoyed it. Had a bunch of bangers on it. IMD, KV, Dope Howden. Those are just a few of the notables. Curb Your Dog. What a great album. One of my favorites, Prodigy, one of my favorite artists in general. So definitely recommend it. The song of the week is also another Prodigy thing. It's off of Mobb Deep's Black Cocaine EP, which is no longer on Apple Music. Maybe it's on Spotify. I don't know. I don't use Spotify. You guys tell me. It's called Conquer, produced by Havoc, one of my favorite P verses ever. It's definitely something worth checking out. Definitely recommend it if you can find it. I have it because I bought it when it came out, but I don't see it on any of those other platforms. So maybe it's on there and I just don't know. You could probably find it on YouTube. YouTube pretty much has everything. So go look it, check it out. In the description, we'll put the other top 10s for the top 10 songs for the week. Check them out. Don't, it's all up to you. If you're looking to get into something else or you're trying to see the method to the madness when I'm out there doing these things right here, trying to lock in and trying to get it done. And this is the kind of stuff I'm listening to. It'll be posted in the description, so go check it out. Now, when I was out Saturday night, there was a really cool exchange. I was out Saturday night, Sunday morning. I was on mile 9. I was walking around in my neighborhood, and there was a truck pulling up behind me, and I got out of the way so he could pull into his driveway. And I was walking towards him, and he was outside of his truck, and he put his hand up to wave me on. It was probably 1:30 in the morning, and I waved at him, and I thought that would be it. But as I got closer, I saw him starting to move down to the street. And as he got to the street, I've got my headphones and stuff, and he looks like he wants to talk. So I take a headphone out, and he says, "Hey, man, sorry to bother you." And he puts his hand out, like to shake my hand. Now, I've never met this dude. I mean, this is in my neighborhood, but I don't know anybody over here on this street. What's he say to me? He says, "Getting those miles in, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, got to do it, man. Can't keep living like this. It's all bad." And he says to me, he was in pretty good shape. And he says, "Yeah, man, a year and a half ago, I was 312 pounds." And I thought that was pretty close to me. I was 307.7, right? So I'm like, wow. And he said, "Man, all I did was eat less, walk, and go to the gym." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really all you can do." But I mean, I still appreciate where he was coming from. I don't know. I think he said he was like 225. He looked like he was in pretty good shape. He said he had still some weight that he wanted to lose. But other than that, like, it was really encouraging. He said, "Well, it's good to see you out here. How much have you lost so far?" I told him I was coming up on 25 pounds. And he was super supportive. He's like, "Well, man, if I see you around, I'll shout you out." So it was a really cool experience, with a week full of doubt like I had. It was cool to legitimately finish the week on a note like that with a guy who saw what I was doing, was like, "Hey, I remember what that was like. I remember I was in those shoes and I had to do that same thing." So I don't know the dude's name, but hey, shout out to you, man. That brings the conclusion to the week. I look forward to coming back for the week 5 update. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, glad you came back. I look forward to bringing you the video next week. So like, share, subscribe. I will see you next Sunday. Out.